woman may be beautiful, intelligent, and charming, but if her ego grows too large, any relationship with her quickly turns into a battlefield. Her ego becomes a weapon she uses to test, control, and even belittle the man beside her. Many men fall into the trap of feeding this ego with constant praise and attention, only to find themselves losing power and respect. To prevent this, a man must learn how to quietly but decisively dismantle a woman's inflated sense of self. The goal is not to humiliate her, but to reset the balance of power so that respect, attraction, and genuine connection can return. Number 1. The power of silence. One of the most underestimated weapons a man can use against a woman's inflated ego is silence. While words are often seen as the primary tool of communication, silence carries a weight far greater than any argument or explanation. A woman's ego thrives on reaction. When she provokes, mocks, or tests a man, she is not simply speaking, she is fishing for energy. She wants to confirm that she has the power to affect his emotions, that she can push his buttons and make him dance to her rhythm. The moment a man reacts, whether through anger, defensiveness, or pleading, he has already surrendered the battlefield. His reaction is proof that her ego is in control. But silence interrupts this game. When a woman tries to provoke and is met with calm indifference, she faces an uncomfortable void. She cannot feed her ego with your energy if you refuse to provide it. Silence acts like a mirror. Instead of seeing your reaction, she is forced to confront her own words and behavior. In many cases, she will replay what she said in her mind, realizing that it lost all its force when it failed to draw a response. This unsettles her because her ego craves validation through dominance, and silence denies her that satisfaction. There is also an aura of strength in a man who can remain silent under pressure. Most men rush to explain themselves, justify their actions, or defend their position. But the man who stays silent signals something different: control. He is not desperate to be understood, not eager to prove anything. His silence communicates confidence more loudly than words ever could. It suggests that he is unshaken, that her attempts to control the frame of the interaction are meaningless. This creates a subtle power shift. Suddenly, she is no longer in the position of authority. She is the one scrambling for a reaction. To use silence effectively, however, requires discipline. It is not about sulking, stonewalling, or passive aggression. True silence is calm, deliberate, and paired with strong body language, steady eye contact, relaxed posture, and an expression that conveys composure rather than irritation. This kind of silence is not avoidance. It is dominance. It makes the woman realize that she is not the one dictating the tempo of the interaction. Over time, the repeated use of silence weakens the foundation of her ego. If she learns that her sharp words or manipulative tests consistently fail to shake you, she will stop relying on them. She will either adjust her behavior to earn your respect, or she will walk away. Both outcomes are in your favor. In the first case, you have reestablished balance. In the second, you have avoided a toxic dynamic. Either way, silence protects your power and forces her ego to shrink back into its rightful place. Number 2. Reversing attention. If silence is the weapon that denies a woman's ego the energy it craves, then reversing attention is the strike that cuts off its supply completely. A woman's ego, more than anything else, feeds on attention. Compliments, validation, constant texts, gestures of pursuit. All of these are fuel. The more a man pours attention into her, the bigger her ego grows. It doesn't matter whether the attention is positive or even desperate. As long as she knows she occupies his thoughts, her sense of superiority expands. This is why so many men lose their power. They believe that showing endless affection and constant availability will make her appreciate them. In reality, it has the opposite effect. The more she receives without effort, the less she values it. Her ego interprets this as confirmation. I am the prize. He is the pursuer. I control the game. Once this dynamic is established, the man is trapped in a cycle of overgiving while receiving less and less in return. Reversing attention breaks this pattern. Instead of chasing, you withdraw. Instead of praising, you observe in silence. Instead of waiting for her approval, you create distance and focus on your own life. The shift is subtle but powerful. She no longer feels like the sun around which you orbit. Suddenly, she finds herself wondering why the spotlight has dimmed, why the man who once poured energy into her now seems distant. This uncertainty shakes her ego because it thrives on being the center of gravity. The effect of reversed attention is psychological. When something is abundant, it loses value. When it becomes scarce, it grows in importance. By pulling back, you transform your attention from something ordinary into something rare, and therefore desirable. A woman who once took your validation for granted now begins to chase it. Her ego, deprived of its usual nourishment, grows restless. She starts to invest more energy in winning back the recognition she feels slipping away. However, this strategy must be executed with balance. Reversing attention does not mean becoming cold to the point of cruelty, nor does it mean ignoring her completely. That would signal bitterness or resentment, which still gives her power. The art lies in selective attention. You choose when to engage and when to withhold, always keeping her guessing. A compliment, after a period of distance, becomes 10 times more powerful than daily flattery. A single act of warmth stands out more sharply when contrasted with an air of calm detachment. Most importantly, while you reverse your attention outwardly, you must redirect it inwardly. Focus on your goals, your growth, your social life. Show, without words, that your world is full and thriving, and that her place in it is not guaranteed. This not only reduces her ego, but also elevates your value. You stop being the man who chases and become the man who is worth chasing. In the end, reversing attention transforms the dynamic of the relationship. The woman realizes that she is no longer automatically at the center. She must earn the energy she receives from you, and in doing so, her ego shrinks while her respect grows. The man reclaims his position of strength, not by force, but by the simple act of withdrawing the fuel her ego once depended on. Number 3. Setting hard boundaries. If silence and reversed attention weaken a woman's ego by depriving it of fuel, then setting hard boundaries delivers the decisive blow that puts it in check. A woman with an inflated ego often tests limits. She may speak disrespectfully, push emotional buttons, or cross lines to see how far she can go. Every time a man allows this behavior, without resistance, he silently communicates permission. His tolerance tells her ego, I can get away with this. He is too weak to stop me. Over time, these small allowances accumulate into a larger problem. Her respect fades, her ego grows, and the balance of power tilts entirely in her favor. This is why boundaries are essential. A man who cannot enforce boundaries is a man who cannot be respected. Boundaries are not about controlling her. They are about controlling yourself and what you are willing to accept. When she crosses the line, you stop her immediately. You do not laugh it off. You do not excuse it. And you do not try to win her over with more kindness. Instead, you cut through the moment with calm but firm authority. For example, if she makes a disrespectful remark, you respond directly, "That's not acceptable. Don't talk to me like that." No anger, no shouting, just absolute clarity. The power of this approach lies in the shock it creates. Most men, out of fear of losing her, let disrespect slide. But when you interrupt it immediately, she realizes you are not like the others. Her ego, expecting compliance, collides with an unexpected wall. That wall is your self-respect. In that moment, she is forced to acknowledge that her words and actions carry consequences. Consistency is critical. A boundary enforced once and then ignored later is no boundary at all. If you tell her that you will not tolerate certain behavior, you must follow through every time. This doesn't mean constant confrontation, but it does mean that you never allow disrespect to pass unchecked. Over time, she will learn that your limits are real, and her ego will shrink within the space you define. Importantly, boundaries also apply to how you manage your own time, energy, and priorities. If she demands constant availability, you say no. If she pressures you to abandon your goals or values, you refuse. These boundaries protect not only your respect, but also your identity. A man who sacrifices his boundaries for a woman's approval always ends up resentful and powerless. A man who enforces them, however, commands both respect and attraction. Setting hard boundaries does not make you harsh. It makes you clear. It tells her that you value yourself, and therefore she must value you too. Her ego cannot thrive unchecked when it continually runs into the firm lines you draw. Instead of expanding endlessly, it is forced to adapt, to shrink, and to operate within the respect you demand. And in that adjustment, the balance of power returns to you. Number 4. Subtle comparison. Replacement. Few things wound a woman's ego more deeply than realizing she is not the only option. Her ego feeds on the illusion of being irreplaceable, the belief that she is the center of your universe, the sole source of beauty, affection, and attention in your life. When a man reinforces this illusion by treating her as though no one else exists, her ego expands without limit. She begins to feel entitled, confident that no matter what she does, he will remain loyal and unquestioning. The antidote to this is the strategy of subtle comparison and replacement. The key word here is subtle. A direct comparison, such as openly praising another woman in front of her, often triggers jealousy in a way that makes you look insecure or manipulative, but a subtle reminder that you have options, that other women value you, notice you, and could easily take her place, pierces her ego without you ever needing to say it outright. This can be done through your behavior rather than your words. When you maintain an active social life, when other women naturally laugh at your jokes or seek your presence, the message is clear. You are desirable beyond the boundaries of this relationship. Your values is not tied to her approval. Without saying a word, you communicate that she must compete for your attention, rather than assuming she owns it. The power of this tactic lies in how it shifts the dynamic. A woman's ego thrives when she feels you are trapped in her orbit. But the moment she sees that you could easily walk into another woman's orbit, her ego trembles. Suddenly, she is no longer the unquestioned prize. She is one of many possible prizes. This realization is devastating to an inflated ego because it forces humility. The replacement element is equally important. You don't have to actually leave or pursue someone else, but you must behave as if you could at any moment. This means refusing to tolerate disrespect because you know there are alternatives. It means not overinvesting because you understand that attention is a resource others would gladly earn. It means showing that your presence in her life is a choice, not a necessity. Handled correctly, this strategy makes her ego contract rapidly. The moment she understands that she is not guaranteed your loyalty, she begins to value it more. She realizes that the pedestal she built for herself is fragile, and that your respect cannot be taken for granted. Far from pushing her away, this often draws her closer, as she works to prove she is worthy of remaining in your life. Subtle comparison and replacement, then, is not about cruelty or betrayal. It is about balance. By reminding her ego that you have options, you prevent it from inflating beyond control. You create a dynamic in which respect flows both ways. She respects your value because she knows you could walk away, and you respect yourself enough never to settle for less. Number 5, cold and controlled attitude. The final strategy for dismantling a woman's inflated ego is adopting a cold and controlled attitude. Unlike silence, which denies her reaction, or reversed attention, which withholds fuel, this tactic is about the constant frame you project. The unshakable presence of a man who cannot be manipulated emotionally. Women instinctively test men to see if they can break their composure. An inflated ego thrives when a man shows neediness, loses his temper, or chases approval. Every crack in his emotional control feeds her sense of superiority. A cold and controlled attitude stops this cycle at its root. When she attempts to provoke you, you respond with calm detachment. When she tries to guilt trip you, you smile faintly and remain unaffected. When she brags, boasts, or flaunts herself, you acknowledge with minimal reaction, as if her performance does not impress you. This subtle but powerful stance communicates one clear message: I am in command of myself, and nothing you do can shake me. The cold aspect does not mean hostility or cruelty. It means emotional independence, the ability to keep your composure no matter how she acts. The man who is cold does not erupt in anger when challenged, nor does he beg for harmony when she withdraws affection. He remains steady, signaling that her games cannot dictate his mood. This frustrates her ego, because ego depends on emotional leverage. If she cannot control how you feel, she cannot dominate you. The controlled aspect reinforces this by showing deliberate authority in your interactions. You decide the pace of the conversation, you guide the direction of the interaction, and you never let her chaos pull you off balance. For example, if she suddenly accuses you of something trivial, you don't defend yourself nervously. Instead, you calmly shift the subject, or call out the absurdity. That's nonsense. Let's move on. Your control turns her attempts at ego inflation into powerless gestures. This attitude also creates an aura of mystery and strength. A man who remains cold and controlled is difficult to read, and what cannot be read cannot be easily manipulated. Women are naturally drawn to this aura because it signals rare strength, the ability to remain sovereign over oneself. Instead of feeding her ego, your composure forces her to shrink hers, adjusting to the higher energy you radiate. Over time, a cold and controlled attitude rewrites the relationship dynamic. Instead of her ego dictating the emotional tone, your steadiness sets the standard. She learns that tantrums, guilt trips, or provocations cannot move you. As a result, her ego is gradually dismantled, replaced by respect and genuine attraction. In the end, this strategy makes you not only untouchable by her ego, but also more desirable. By refusing to be controlled, you become the one in control. And when a woman sees that your strength is unshakable, her inflated ego collapses under the weight of your composure. At the heart of every strong relationship lies respect, and respect can only exist when ego is kept in check. A woman's inflated ego will always try to test, provoke, and dominate. But the man who masters himself cannot be broken. True power comes from composure, discipline, and the refusal to give away your strength in the face of manipulation. When you embody this, you stop playing her game and start leading it. This is not about destroying her as a person, but about destroying the illusion that she holds all the control. Once that illusion collapses, what remains is a connection built on mutual respect, real attraction, and balance. That is where a man reclaims his rightful place. If this message resonates with you, don't just watch in silence. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel for more lessons on power, psychology, and relationships.